Good morning. Let's do that one more time. Good morning. One more time as everyone's settling in. Good morning. So exciting to be in community with so many people this morning. For those of you who I haven't met or we haven't met before, my name is Beth Gonzalez and I serve as Deputy Superintendent for Educational Services for Wayne Risa. I'm so grateful to be in this space with you today and to kick off a day of learning this morning, so welcome. Let's get a little sense of who else is in the room. And so if you don't mind, this morning you might stand and stretch your legs for just a moment to help identify yourself. If you're in the room and you serve currently as an educator, a teacher in a classroom serving children, would you stand, please? All right, can we give a big round of applause for our educators in the room? Yes. Thank you. You can have a seat. I know your students are missing you today, so thank you so much for being here. If you currently serve in a coach capacity, whether that's at the specialist level or the classroom level, or as a literacy consultant in the county, would you stand, please? Or mathematics, for that matter. Literacy or math. Round of applause. Awesome. Got some coaching power in the room. Woo. That was unexpected. Go over here. If you are a central office leader in some capacity or a building principal, would you please stand? All right. Lots of leaders in the room. Okay, is there anyone who didn't stand? Hopefully not. Hopefully we got everyone. Well, today's a special day. Do you all know that it's Leap Day? Yes. So normally this day is not on the calendar, so it's extra. And so what a great day to take time to lean in, to learn, to reflect, and to be together. And in the next few years, when you don't have a February 29th, you can remember that you did this today. Do we, by chance, have any Leap Day babies, birthdays in the room? Anybody have a February 29th birthday? Anybody? No? Your sister. All right, let's give a big round of applause for Roz's sister. That is a really special day. So how old is she today?
I'm not allowed to tell. She's that age.
Okay. In leap days, oh my gosh, this microphone is really getting me. Well, it's certainly a unique day, and that was striking me as I was heading here today. So why are we here today? We're going to talk a little bit about the importance of thinking about our work from a systems level, from a district level, and from a building level. I think we've been really fortunate as a community in Wayne County to do really, really rich work focused on the literacy essentials, really specifically the classroom level essential practices. And I'm so proud of the work of our team in collaboration with your teams in our COSA network and in supporting teachers and understanding and implementing the literacy essentials in classrooms. But we know that there are underlying conditions that really support whether or not those practices come alive in classrooms, and that has to do with the collective in this room, the leadership of central office leaders, building level leaders, and coaches, because the research is clear that when we're organized to support educators around these things, students grow and flourish. And so today we're going to lean in. We're going to look at a framework that describes best practice and what that might look like and reflect on our own progress toward that. Hopefully today will be a day of celebration for some of you around the work that you're already doing and potentially time to reflect on what more you might do this year or as you move into the next academic year. I would like to acknowledge, and I think it's important to name, that we're going to focus deeply on the leadership pillar of instructional leadership today, but that is not the only hat that our principals wear. Am I right? There are so many facets to running a building. Like, that is just true. And our principals, this is the framework that Wayne Risa uses in our principal preparation work, right? When we think about supporting people to be great building level leaders, we focus on these 5 areas: instructional leadership, climate and culture, talent management, creating systems, and implementing change. And the role of the principal is really busy, really demanding. I mean, you've got everything from bus duty to things rolling well in the cafeteria to families coming to after school. I mean, it is like every day you could go to work, you can work hard the whole workday and never step into that instructional leadership capacity and actually do a good job, right? So it takes us being really intentional about that part because our days are so busy. I love this meme for principals, right? Principals often are the hardest working, latest staying people because they have so many things to do. And so I think this is also about, we have district level leaders in the room thinking about what are the things that we are prioritizing when we're asking our principals what to focus on, because there are so many things to do. So the research is clear. As leaders, building level leaders, district level leaders, we have to have a clear vision for what we want to accomplish. And I would offer that these 3 questions on this slide are the things that keep us up at night, right? Like, how well are we doing at these things? Do we have a clear vision of what we're trying to accomplish? How are we measuring the impact if we're having progress in that space? Because it can't just be end of year MSTEP student achievement outcomes, right? It can't just be that, whether or not we're doing a good job. Because the work that we do every day is investing in students, and they're making growth that is cumulative over time. And so we need to be measuring our impact in many different layered ways to understand, are we having an impact on instructional outcomes? And then how focused are we on serving students whose needs are not yet being met? And so that is the one big push I would leave everyone in this room today. There are populations of kids that you are serving very well, undeniably. We can point to data, we can show it, it's happening. And there are groups of students, and it's certainly present in our county. It goes beyond just our county, right? Our state and nationally, when you look at NAEP data, there are kids who their needs are not yet being met. Our systems are not well organized for them, their identities, what helps them grow and thrive, what makes them feel seen, what is culturally relevant to them, what is engaging, how safe they feel. The truth is there's kids in our school today whose needs are not being met. And so if from today in our work together you leave thinking a little more deeply about those children, we are making progress together, because that is our work. How do we truly live into this idea of all? Again, guess what? The most important work that happens in our buildings is with that teacher. This is a whole table of teachers, right? With them and their kids, right? Kids grow with phenomenal, irreplaceable educators. Like, we know those people. We walk into classrooms, it's like the way they see kids, the way they make them feel, the way they lean in and they understand their individual needs and invest in them, that is the magic. But that does not happen, and does not happen systemically and consistently without strong leadership. It took a leader to allow all these educators to come here today. Isn't that right? Right. And so that's why this is so important and clear in the research. At Wayne Risa, we've been really lucky to have the opportunity to bring in some national thought leaders on principal leadership. And Principal Cathili is one of those individuals. And he focused really specifically on this idea of instructional leadership. If you are disproportionately focused on things that are non-instructional in your leadership at your building, you probably should not expect to see dramatic growth of your students, right? You don't have the right culture around this. And then we also were really lucky to learn from Principal Salone Thomas L., who really helped us understand that this idea of continuous improvement, that is the work. So as we learn today, really embrace this idea of this is a judgment-free space. This is not about saying what we've done wrong. This is just about going, how do we grow and do better and do more together, right? And hopefully we're gonna come up with some common things that we see even across buildings or districts to lean in together. Just so that you don't walk away thinking I was being preachy and it was just me, just for you, several different examples of research-based studies that really lean in and focus on the importance of building level leadership in this work. And that is what today is about, right? This idea that instructionally focused leadership was indirectly but significantly related to math achievement through its positive effect on the instructional environment. I recently had an opportunity to watch a short documentary, which maybe we'll find a way after the event to share a link to it, because it's pretty incredible, free and available. And it took place actually in Argentina. And it's a small community in Argentina that had some of the lowest literacy rates in the nation and a small set of schools in the district. And the leadership there over like a 2-year period took a deep and rich focus on basically reflection, collaboration, their belief in children's ability to achieve, and the quality of what they were putting in front of students, right? I mean, these very it is not rocket science, but it was just a collective commitment to this. And they moved over this period of time to being one of the highest performing, most improved districts in literacy in the nation. Now, it was in Spanish, not English, right? But there are such strong parallels to all the research here and application to our work, and it was really inspiring. I won't read these to you, but this is just to point out how important this work is. So thank you for being here. So that's the why. And I'm so excited to have partners from MAISA and others in the room. We'll introduce them in a moment to help lean into these documents. And yes, right now they're documents, but as they're realized in your leadership, that's where they become alive and make an impact. I think you noticed when we stood that the largest groups in the room were district leaders, building principals, and then coaches, right? And that is because in order for this work to truly be realized, that principal-coach relationship is so important, right? We have to have someone who's driving the vision, who is coalescing everyone about what we want to accomplish, and we've got to have the right supports in place to make the work happen. And so really excited about the opportunity for you to be here together. And when you look at the breakouts this afternoon, you'll see that there are a couple of sessions that really lean into the principal-coach relationship, which we think is fundamentally important to driving this work forward. So finally, I'm almost done. It hasn't been that long. Today's about instructional leadership. So just know that we acknowledge, I opened by saying that, right? We acknowledge that there's so many things you're responsible for in your work. It's not just instructional leadership, but today we're gonna really lean into this facet of our work as leaders, one of the 5 pillars that we focus on in supporting leaders, because we know it's so important to our students. So with that, I have the great honor and privilege of welcoming and inviting Rusty Anderson from MAISA. Can you all give him a round of applause as he comes up, please?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Let's try again. It's leap day. It's an extra day. We have energy. It's free. Good morning. I love it. We are privileged to be in this space. What a great space. Great food. Most importantly, great people. So not only the people that you're sitting at a table with, many of you are sitting in teams, but also the people in the room. And so we're gonna find a ton of opportunities today to not only collaborate with the people at your table, we know you have things that you want to talk about connected to this content. We'll create space for that. We'll also create space for you all to talk with other people in the room. We firmly believe that everyone in this room is better together. So, as Beth said, I'm Rusty Anderson. My role is to support early mathematics at the state level through MAISA. I also serve as a math consultant at Kent ISD. This work in early math, which is also connected to the organizational practices, which I'll introduce in just a minute, is really important work that's happening statewide. And today we have an opportunity to uncover and peel back the onion a little bit on what that might look and sound like in Wayne County. So excited to be here. The other person, as you can tell, I'm not Erin Brown. Our hair is slightly different. Erin normally is here with me. One of her team members was sick and they have a big event happening and she needed to fill in. So I am representing both Erin and I. These slides, this conversation, and this work of this first hour really was built by both Erin and I. So I just want to acknowledge her because her expertise is always welcome. The other part that we have today is we have virtual people who are joining us virtually from across Michigan. So hello everyone virtually, and we have Michelle in the back. Give us a wave, Michelle, who's supporting them. She is not checking email and sending text messages. She is supporting the people online. I think it's important to say that. So let's go ahead and dive in. Here's our agenda. Before we get into content, we're just going to paint a little bit of a picture and some clarity around the structure of our day today. So you notice that Beth kicked us off. I will support us up until about 10 o'clock, and then we'll have a quick break. We'll then welcome Dr. Melissa Uziak to talk about one specific organizational practice. After that, we'll take lunch around 11:45. We'll hope to have about an hour. We'll have great food and great conversation. After that, we have breakouts. There are learning sessions that will happen in this room and then also the rooms down the hall and up, I think, up the stairs as well. So know that we have two options for learning sessions. Right now, before we get into content, let's just take a look at what we have in front of us, and I'll paint a little bit of some clarity around those resources. First up is the program. If you're looking for an abstract or a short story on any of the breakout sessions, you'll be able to find them inside this program. There are so many good options. One thing I appreciate about today is that there is choice in the afternoon, and there are two choices. So some of them are repeated. You'll look for those to make sure that everybody has an option that they would love to attend. You could attend these breakout options with your team, or you could decide who's gonna go where and then collaborate after when you get back to home base to talk about what you learned and what you might want to take back. On the back of that program, if you have a coffee mug at your table, there's one program at your table that has a star in the top right corner on the back. That coffee mug is a prize for that person. Yeah, look at the winners. Got none. It's gonna be a fight. And what you'll know, I know, that's exciting, right? A big mug, and you can fill that thing with coffee many times today. If you're like me, we'll have plenty of it. You'll notice we're gonna be moving about and talking at our table some. When I get to this space with my hand up, if you could just help me with that, raise your hand, that will tell the people that you're talking with and around you that we're gonna bring it back together, whole group. The other tool that you have in front of you is the screening tool. This is something Dr. Uziak's gonna talk a little bit about. Know that this tool is one that you can use with your leadership team as you go back to home base to reflect upon current state for each of the organizational practices. On the back page, there is a rubric and a process for utilizing the tool. More to come on that tool. With that said, at any point, if you need to take a break, feel free to step out, meet your own needs. We have coffee. Don't hesitate to get up and refill. Do you? This is going to be a great morning. The purpose of our morning is on the screen. I'll give us an opportunity to read that. We are going to spend time solidifying a common understanding around the value statements from the organizational practices as we get started and their connection to the organizational practice. That's the purpose of our morning. A couple outcomes for our morning are on the screen. Take a second to read those. You're going to walk out of here knowing that there are value statements in organizational practices and how they play together. That's our main goal for this morning up to 10 o'clock. This quote is so beautiful. So take a second to read that and I'll highlight a couple of things. Highlighting a couple phrases. Make more mistakes than others make attempts, and amplify discomfort. Today is about reflecting upon the current ways of working and identifying the spaces where we can lean into a little discomfort and modify forward to ensure that our kids are getting better learning. Let's create space to do that today. I'll give a quick overview and then I'll give you all a chance to talk because my role is not to stand here and talk at you. The organizational practices quick history. As you all know, this document existed for literacy only, slightly after the Literacy Essentials came to be. A few years later, Math Essentials entered the picture, and we knew that we needed this organizational or system level document to represent not only literacy, but also mathematics. So what we were able to do is partner with the existing researchers who helped us write the original iteration of the organizational practices, who were Dr. Christy Cooper-Stein, and then with us today, Dr. Melissa Uziak. And we invited a math systems level researcher to the table to support them in thinking about what modifications might we need to make to include mathematics. So what you have in front of you today in the large booklet of essentials, not only is all of the instructional essential practices, but also the revised and updated organizational practices or school-wide, center-wide essentials. This document is one that is relatively new, and we're gonna spend some time diving into it today. All right, let's give you all a chance to get in the room. At your table, each of you will have an opportunity to reflect on one of these two prompts. They are, I'm excited to be here today because, or, one thing I hope to walk away with today is. You can choose your own adventure, pick one of those prompts, and when you're ready, at your table, you'll simply round robin, ensuring that everybody has a chance to speak what's on their mind. I'll give you all a few minutes to have this conversation. This will set the stage for why we're here and what we're hoping to walk out with. Take a minute, pick a prompt, round robin, and we'll bring it back together in a couple of minutes. Have fun. In about 30 seconds. Thank you. Y'all, that was pretty good. Nice work. Let's collect a couple. We'll collect 3 from the group. It could be something that you said or you heard one of your best friends at your table say. This will give us an idea of what's standing out and what some of us are here for. Who might be willing to offer something good for the group? Thank you. 1. We'll look for 2 more. 2 more. 2, thank you, and 1 more. Oh, 3, and then we can have a 4 if we'd like. Right in front of you, yep.
We need our Zoom team.
All right, so as a district leader, one of the things I hope to walk away with is finding the ability to help my building leadership find time in their busy days to be that instructional leader.
Yeah, lovely. Beth painted the picture for that perfectly for us, that the day-to-day is a grind, it's busy, and this type of work has to be carved out or it just won't happen. Thank you.
Are we here?
Yeah, we have 3 and 4 there, and then we'll go over to 2.
Are you 3? No. Oh, I'm so sorry.
They both raised their hand. You can, she's volunteering him to go first.
Okay, good morning. One of my friends at the table mentioned that she wanted to be able to learn strategies to take back to our district. We have district representation here from building level, central office level, so we'd like to be able to take it back and disseminate it throughout the district.
To the structure of a team and having the right people in the room. Kudos, thank you. And I think we're all the way in the back by right in front of our friend Andrew in the back.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm just really thrilled to be here. I have my entire team from the curriculum office. We're a newer team together, so we're building relationships. We're looking forward to digging in and better understanding the organizational practices and hoping to lift this language, the discourse, to bring it into our planning as a district. So thank you, happy to be here.
Thank you so much.
Paint that with a highlighter that it is about the content. It is. And just as or more important is about the people. So building relationships and living into that, because this space, when we go back home, doesn't happen, right? So use this time to not only get the content, but also build positive relationships with those that you work with. Thank you. Everyone, 2 claps for all that shared. That was good too. Y'all are on it. It's leap day and we're feeling it. All right, what do apples have to do with anything? What we talked about earlier was how values and our values influence the ways that we enact the practices or that we act in real life. And so I'll talk just a little bit about some of the values that I have from the way that I grew up. Then we'll give you all an opportunity to do that at your table with a partner. And then we'll step into the actual work and say, okay, how do these value statements from the organizational practices help us enact in a specific way the essential organizational practices? So here we go. Apples do connect. I grew up on an apple farm just outside of Grand Rapids, Michigan, where for 18 years I was following around my dad, who was an apple farmer. We, as you would imagine, had times where it was apple season and things were really, really chaotic, probably a lot like February in schools, lots of connections there. Some things, though, as I watch my dad move as he farmed throughout the season, I learned things, and they were instilled in me, which are some of the values that I hold today. The first, I value how time is spent. What I was able to witness was how so many things as a farmer for my dad were out of his control. Rain. Who knew that rain would hatch all these bugs that then want to eat apples? Hail ruins apples, basically becomes apple juice because you can't sell them in the store anymore. Temperature, all the things that are out of his control were not things that he spent time worrying about, talking about, or doing anything with. What he modeled for me, which is a value of mine now, was spend your time on the things that we can do to actually make a difference. I value how time is spent. The other thing, and there are many others, but we'll just stick to these two, is thinking about where we are now and not being reactionary, but thinking long-term and planning long-term. So as many of you know, when you are an apple farmer, there are things that have to change now that you're planning for 5, 10, 15 years down the road. A perfect example, for those of you who love Honeycrisp apples, anybody? Oh, everybody loves Honeycrisp apples. So when I was younger, Honeycrisp, they're like a new hybrid apple. And when they hit the scene for apple farmers, decisions had to be made because you had acres after acres after acres after acres of trees that are producing apples that are not Honeycrisp, that are not in a couple years going to sell in the store because all of us want Honeycrisp, right? I do. So what farmers had to do, and what I watched my dad do, was rip out orchards, acres after acres after acres of orchards that were producing apples, tear them out, and plant these little trees that weren't going to produce apples for 3 to 4 years. So that's a decision and an example of how he, in the moment, had to say, you know what, for the next couple of years, it's going to be different. But 5, 10 years from now, we're going to be ahead of the other people who didn't have the guts to make change now. A value that I hold is thinking about the big picture. And it connects to a lot of what Beth said. It connects to a lot of what we've already talked about, that the day-to-day grind and the work pulls us into reactionary tales, pulls us into work that doesn't necessarily allow time and space for us to think 5, 10 years down the road. I value looking at the big picture and thinking about creating spaces so we can have the hard conversations now so that in 5 years we're not still dealing with the same issues that we currently have. Those are 2 examples of how my life, like outside of work, but my life has instilled values in me which drive the behaviors and the ways that I act in the moment, day to day. We're going to have an opportunity to do this for you all as well, so that you can reflect on a value that you might hold and connect it to how it influences the behaviors for you day to day. And then we'll dive into the organizational practices and think about those value statements. So this is your turn. I'm going to give you just a minute or 2 to think, because this is not easy. This is not something that you're probably like, oh yeah, I got it. Give yourself a minute or 2 to think about a value that you hold and how that value influences the ways you act or behave on a day-to-day basis. This is deep, so some of your eyes are like, oh boy, it's okay. We're just gonna do this with a partner. So when you look next door to you and you've identified your partner, when both of you are ready, feel free to chat. We're gonna be on Earth time for this, which means we'll just bring it back together when we need to, okay? When you're ready, chat with a partner. What is the value you hold and how does it influence your behavior? About 1 more minute. 1 more minute. Or less than 1 minute. Y'all did that, not me. We could stay there all day. That's the human work, that's the relationship work. All of that is foundational to actually doing real work, as you all know. We'll pin those for now and get into the work things around the value statements. So as I said previously, the organizational practices, one of the edits that we made, in addition to adding mathematics language to the document, was to add value statements. What these allow us to do is name the things that we value. When we enact these practices that we're thinking about today, a reflective question for us always is, in what ways do the value statements drive this practice? And that's what we're going to try on here in just a second. Before we do that, we're going to find the value statements from the organizational practices. So if you want to open up your spiral-bound book, find the school-wide, center-wide, or organizational practices. You'll notice if you flip the page from the cover to the next page, there are 5 value statements. I'm going to provide just a little bit of time right now for you to just do a quick read of each of the 5, knowing that you're going to choose one that you want to dive a little bit deeper into. So as you read, be like, that one sounds nice. As you're finishing your read, you're selecting one value that you might want to dive a little bit deeper into, and you're holding that number in your brain. The numbers are on the screen, not on the document, sadly. What number are you going to dive deeper into? Everyone has a number. And here's the way we're going to talk about the value statement you chose. If we're able, we're going to stand and go to a section in the room. When we get there, we're going to bring our organizational practices, the spiral-bound book. We're going to bring something to write with, and we're going to bring 2 Post-it notes. You all are grabbing those things now. I'll pause for you to grab them. And on the screen, once you've arrived to the location, which I'll share again in just a second, you're going to find 2 new friends. So that will be 3 people total. You're going to create a little campfire. It could be standing or sitting. Just stand in a triangle. Think about this little nice warm fire in the middle of you. And you're going to introduce yourself. And then when you're done introducing yourself, that might be name, role, hobby, whatever you'd like, just real quick so that people know you. Once your trio has introduced each person, then you'll look back to the stage for the process. Ones are going to be up in this corner. Twos will be back by Mike. He's standing up right now. Mike, wave at us. Hi, Mike. Threes will meet in the middle. Fours will meet up here, front to my left. And fives will meet back in the corner by Michelle. Michelle will wave at us, and hi, virtual friends. Reviewing quickly, you'll go to the spot. You'll find two best friends. You'll introduce yourself, and then you'll look back to the stage for the process. What questions might we have? Find your location. We'll do this quickly. Look back to the stage. Remember, you're finding a trio. Threes are in the middle. Stay. Don't be afraid. Thank you. Here's how we're going to talk about it with our new best friends. What, why, how? You can talk informally about any of these questions in any order that you wish. What words or phrases stand out? Why do they stand out to you? And how do they connect to your current context? Talk with your best friends about that, knowing that when you're finished, on one of the Post-it notes, you're going to write a phrase representing what you want to remember about your conversation. So just a quick summary on one of the Post-it notes, knowing when we go back to our home base with our table, that Post-it note's going to be a scaffold for your speech. Okay? Yeah, speech. That sounds like a lot of pressure. So you better get it right. Just kidding. Have fun. about 1-ish minutes left. If you want to venture toward writing, that would be great. And next up, we're going to think about that value statement while looking at one of the organizational practices. Here's our process. We're going to have 5 options to choose from. So we have organizational practice 1, which details out leadership teams. You all are doing this already. You're here with a team, many of you. We have practice 2, which talks about the organizational climate. We have practice 3, which is the learning environment. And Dr. Uziak is going to be diving deeply into that one. We have practice 4, which talks about systems for professional learning, so adult learning systems. And then we have practice 7, which talks about the instructional materials that are in front of children. These are your options, and they're intentionally chosen because they connect to our work today, specifically 3 with Dr. Uziak in a little bit, but then each of our breakouts this afternoon will also touch on these. So you're going to choose one of them that you would like to dive into a little bit deeper. And we'll have a similar process where you'll go to that space, you'll find some new best friends, you'll each have a different value possibly that you read, but you'll be reading the same organizational practice and then connecting that value statement to the enactment of that practice. So we'll have 1s here, 2s in the back, 3s in the middle, 4s up front to my left, and 7s in the back to my left. Once you get there, you're going to find 2 new friends, create trios, you'll stand around your campfire, you'll introduce yourself, and then you'll look, love it. Questions? High five your best friends if you're comfortable doing that, and let's head to the next. Introducing yourself and then looking back to the stage. Oh, that's the practice one. Oh, I know. I almost said 5 just a minute when I said it. And here on the screen is our process. You're going to read it. It'll be a quick read, something efficient. When you're ready, chat around any of these questions. In what ways might the value you talked about guide the ways we enact this practice? So again, connecting the value to the enactment. And what might be a non-example? You could choose either. So you could say, oh, this practice says this. Here's something that I've seen in my career in education that doesn't live into that. Those are all fair game. If you want to take it in another direction, that's fine as well. When you're finished with your trio, you'll identify 2 to 3 important points, and you'll put those on the other post-it again, serving as your scaffold for your speech. We're going to do this efficient, so you're going to feel unfinished and not like an expert at the end, and that's okay. Okay? What questions do we have? Have fun. About a minute and a half. 1 minute, 30 seconds. Once you're finished sharing, remember you're writing down a couple of things you want to remember. A couple of things on your Post-it. And when you're ready, feel free to high five your best friends and head back to home base. Whenever you're ready, high five your best friends, head back to home base. And 10 seconds. 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. And here we go. We're going to modify the protocol just slightly to make sure that we stay as close to on schedule as possible. So what we'll do is allow at your table 2 people to share. You could just highlight the things you wrote on your Post-its. You could answer one of the questions or use the stem on the screen. One of the stems is, a connection I made was, ... Or, something new I uncovered was, ... Feel free to use one of the stems if you wish. Use your own stem. We're gonna have 2 people at each table share with your table, and then we'll collect a couple from the group, and then we'll go to break. So take a minute, identify 2 people who are willing to share, talk it out, and we'll bring it back together in just a sec. About 30 seconds. That's a perfect segue. Side note, someone left a phone that just beeped in the bathroom. If you're missing your phone and it's beeping, you have friends that are wanting to get a hold of you. There you go. See, we support one another. It's perfect. Okay. We are going to venture to break, and I know you all just got so many nuggets of things you could talk about for a long time, so know that these conversations are going to continue. However, let's collect maybe two before we go on break. The purpose of us collecting is for us to hear the ideas from other people in the room who we might not always get a chance to learn from and with. Who might be willing, knowing we're going to collect two, to share something either that they heard just shared at their table, something that they talked about in their group, anything is fair game. Who might be willing to share? My leap day wait time is epic, I promise. We have two, and this is before break. Thank you, one, and we're looking for one more. Two, thank you. The mic's coming just so our virtual people can hear.
Hello, everyone. So I'll speak to the first value, and I'll lift up the piece about meaningful change takes time and requires ongoing inquiry, revision, and use of data. And so we just have to make sure that they won't expect things to happen overnight. I know our team presents before the board, and they want to see immediate impact. But it takes time if we do it right and if it's driven by research. So that really stood out to me in the reading. Thank you.
Thank you. The pressures from those outside of this room are real, but we in this room know that meaningful change takes time. There's not a linear process that's going to get us to where we need to be. That'll wake us up.
That's why I got to be away
Yeah,
from the
stay
speaker.
away from that.
Right there.
We work in a social system. So let's go ahead to break up that squeal, whatever it was. Two claps. Thank you for sharing. And without the screech, maybe.
There we go.
Here we go.
It was very well said how you stated it. Our team pretty much talked very similar about just when we put practices in place, seeing them follow through, and not just changing when something new comes down and changing everything, the whole paradigm of our building or district. So it's really just following through with the data, seeing how things are working and how we can revise and improve. So
Yeah,
I'm
perfect.
going to
It's
stay
about-
away from that.
Yeah, thank you. It's about intentionality and knowing that it's a long journey that we're all on. Thank you. Two claps. All right. What a great start to the day. We have a lot more great things to come with Dr. Uziak. Before we do that, though, we're going to take a 10-minute break. It is 10:12 on my watch, and that will take us to 10:22. 10-minute break, grab some coffee, take a break, and we'll see you in a bit.